Hey guys, so today we're doing a full face or nearly full face of RMS Beauty, and hot off the press here I have the SunCoverup Super Tint SPF 50 Broad Spectrum Sunscreen. So I'll be using this and other products. I have, like I said, almost a full face. There are a couple things I didn't pick up just because I didn't think I would get a lot of kind of long-term use out of them, but I have been stockpiling a lot of things with the intention of doing basically a full face at some point, and I like to time these full faces so that they kind of coincide with a new release. So if you're interested in videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and you can check out my kind of back catalog of all my other videos. I should mention before I get into it though that I will have timestamps down below. So if you are only interested in this product, for example, or you want to skip ahead to a certain part, you are more than welcome to do that, because I have a feeling this will be a little bit of a longer video. I'm going to try and keep the descriptions of most of the products pretty brief, with the exception of this new one. So to start off with, the first thing I want to do is actually apply some kind of lip product. I usually apply some kind of lip balm sort of thing before I get started. So I do have their Tinted Daily Lip Balm in the shade Twilight Lane. So might as well start off with this one. That is what the component looks like, very sleek. And it's going to be a little bit on the darker side. I tried to select shades that all kind of go together, but you never know. So it looks like this is going to be a little bit heavier on the tint, a little bit lighter on the kind of emollients or moisturizing kind of properties. It's a pretty color. I would just kind of manage your expectations if you are interested in this product being more of kind of a light lipstick as opposed to kind of those lip balm type things like these that have been very popular. That's a peptide lip treatment is what that is. But yeah, this reminds me a little bit of the kind of Clinique Black Honey almost lipstick kind of thing. So I did do my skincare a little while ago now, so I think it's had a kind of a chance to sink in. And RMS does have a fair bit of like skincare products, so I thought I would start out with, I have a deluxe sample of their, can't read this, Cockadoo Luxe Cream. So I'm going to start off with this. Some of their skincare products, I always make sure to run things through like the Paula's Choice Beautypedia page just to make sure there aren't a lot of essential oils, that kind of thing. This one is actually pretty good from like a clean beauty brand perspective. The only thing that gave me a little pause is that it does have niacinamide fairly high up on the ingredient list, and I am personally kind of sensitive to niacinamide in certain quantities, so hopefully that won't be an issue. Has a nice texture to it if you have dry skin like me. So I'm just going to put a little bit more kind of moisturizer on just to kind of keep things nice and hydrated. It doesn't really smell like anything, so that's good. So just a little bit, just so you can kind of see the texture like so. So I've been kind of aware of RMS for a long time, and I've heard they're kind of newer products. I don't know if they went through like changes in ownership or whatever, but anyway, they're kind of blushes that have been really popular. The older era, I would say, everything kind of came in pots for the most part. So I think they do still sell like a pure coconut cream, and I do have some of their potted products that I can show you just for demo purposes, but I think their like Living Luminizer in the pot was kind of their cult favorite product. I remember back when I was still reading like beauty blogs, when those were still really popular, that was kind of the thing that everyone talked about. Okay, so this is an SPF 50 sunscreen, but even though I'm filming at night, it doesn't feel quite right to only have this. So hypothetically, if I were applying this during the day, I probably would go in with some kind of sunscreen underneath, and it can act as a nice primer as well. So I'm going to be using the RMS Supernatural Radiance Serum. This is only SPF 30, which is interesting, and I have it in the shade Light Aura. So I believe this does have, it's a mineral sunscreen, which is great. 20% zinc oxide. I don't recall, I'll have to take a closer look at the ingredient list. I think this one has some fragrance ingredients, and one of my kind of pet peeves is when brands put fragrance ingredients, but they don't say fragrance, they say some other ingredient that is causing the fragrance, like I think phenethyl alcohol. Kosas uses in theirs. So I just did 2 fingers, and I think maybe it's like some citrus oils. Again, I'll have to take a closer look because the packaging is not super easy to read. I did look at the ingredients for the new product that I'll apply in a second, and that surprisingly didn't really have any ingredients of concern to me, other than it did have some niacinamide like halfway down the ingredient list. So if you're sensitive like me, that's just something to be aware of. Yeah, it kind of smells like Fruit Loops. Just such a weird scent memory. But yeah, it does have niacinamide, so especially when you're layering a lot of products, that can be a problem. So just be aware of that. But one thing I was looking for when it had the SPF 50 claim is whether it had any like sunscreen boosters. So you may have heard, I think the Lipstick Lesbians did an interview with the Breaking Beauty podcast, and they explained it really well. I know there are other YouTubers or content creators who have gone into depth about it, like Lab Muffin Beauty Science, for example, how there are some chemical ingredients. I mean, everything's a chemical, but like chemical filters that brands will put in a sunscreen to kind of boost the mineral sunscreen's efficacy, even when they're claiming it to be only a mineral SPF. So just something to be aware of. So I'll put the ingredient down on the screen that I've seen as being kind of a common SPF booster. But anyway, I was pleasantly surprised to see that this doesn't contain that. So it seems like it's getting all of its SPF 50 rating from 12% zinc oxide. So I'm not really sure how this is 12% and the sunscreen is 20%, but yet this is 50, not 30. I'm guessing it has something to do with like the pigments, because you know, titanium dioxide and things. It does have titanium dioxide. That is frequently listed as a mineral SPF, so maybe they're actually getting some of the benefit from those kind of opacifying and mineral agents. I'm not a cosmetic chemist. This is just all based on my understanding of what I've read. So take it for what it's worth. But anyway, it has a nice heavy glass packaging with a cap and a pump, which is really nice to see. They're calling it a super tint. I think it reads, just by looking at it, to be more of a foundation. And again, it is interesting that it is SPF 50. So that is the texture going down my hands. And let me tell you a little bit about it. So this is $49 for 1 ounce. Last I checked, it was still on like VIP pre-order kind of thing. So I think all that means is that you have to sign in and have an account to be able to place an order. So I think you should be able to purchase it currently. I purchased mine a few days ago and it just arrived today. So $49, you can get about 20% off, I think, with various codes. I think Sophia Sees Beauty has a code. So yeah, it has a scent. I'm not sure what it is. Again, I didn't see any actual like fragrance ingredients, and this was pretty good on the Paula's Choice Beautypedia. So again, ingredient wise, I think it's pretty good. It has 13 flexible shades, they say. And the shade Alabaster that I'm applying is the lightest shade. It's light porcelain for fair skin. And they say it's ideal for UnCoverup and Revolve foundation shades 000 through 00. And I do have that product, so I'll do a little bit of a comparison swatch. It's a tad yellow, I think, but as I'm kind of blending it, and as you can see, I'm just using my fingers, as I'm blending it into the skin, I think it works fairly well. I think the wear claim is supposed to be up to 8 hours. They say that the hydration should last longer, but I think especially for like the sun coverage and that kind of thing, they say 8 hours. They say it's a silicone-free daily tinted moisturizer with SPF superpowers. And again, that is zinc oxide, 12%. And yeah, they say niacinamide and natural peptides. So I'm not too keen on that. Vegetable squalene, and there's some glycerin and that kind of thing in there. So it's blending it fairly nicely just with my fingers. It has a bit of like tact to it. Like it kind of seems to like grip the skin a little bit. So it is blendable with your fingers, but it doesn't feel like super oily. It doesn't feel like it's totally just slip sliding around my skin. Like it is kind of, I think, settling in fairly nicely. And it's always difficult to apply things evenly on camera. I feel like I could use maybe just a tad bit more right there. I still have some on my hand, so this cheek, I think. So far so good for a first impression. It's 8:30 right now as I'm filming. I just wanted to kind of throw everything on the face. So that is the shade match for reference. Again, a little touch yellow maybe, but I think I can make it work. So as promised, this was what I was going to use before this product came out. So this is the Re-Evolve Natural Finish Foundation in 000. So this one had this interesting kind of twist up kind of component, and this actually was refillable as well. So kind of an interesting system that they had here. And when they were first kind of teasing this new product coming out, it sounded like maybe they were going to be releasing a new concealer, because that is something that I think people have been speculating about them coming out with. So you can see that shade in the middle is, I'd say it's lighter. This one almost looks peach by comparison. So yeah, interesting difference there. I wonder if I could just maybe put a tad bit, I have a little bit of a blemish scar I can maybe cover up a little bit down here. So I'll just blend a little bit there just so you can maybe see it. So anyway, so if you do wear that product, that is the comparison. And then we also have the concealer. So this is the SunCoverup concealer. You can see they're kind of playing around with some of these names a little bit. And this is in that kind of older pot style packaging that I was talking about. This is also in the shade 000. So that is what that looks like. And do a little bit of a swatch. It reminds me a bit of like the Glossier Stretch Concealer. So you're not getting a lot of like pigment there. So like I said, they have the Revolve and the SunCoverup. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have a like Revolve or Re-Evolve concealer coming out at some point. But anyway, I'm just going to take some of that on the under eyes. It's not going, I don't think, to do a lot of kind of concealing, but this, like the Glossier, I think is a product that I would just keep in my bathroom drawer if I just want kind of a little bit underneath the eyes before I go out. So yeah, you can see it doesn't really do much. I do usually put on a corrector underneath, but RMS doesn't sell a corrector that I'm aware of anyway, so we're just going to stick with that product. So yeah, it's okay. I wouldn't say this is something you probably want to rush out and buy. I'd say if you have maybe very mature skin and you want something that's going to be hydrating and kind to any kind of crepey skin or whatever, but you don't need a lot of coverage, maybe that is the best use case for that product, because as you can see, it doesn't do a whole lot. So, and I can see my nose is not kind of evenly blended. And down on my chin as well, like I said, I don't think this is going to give you much coverage. It blends in nicely, like it has a nice kind of slip to it, but coverage wise, not so much. I guess this is also a good brand if you just like kind of going in with your fingers. So like I said, we'll just leave it there. So for brows, so RMS does sell brow products, but I didn't pick any up because they don't sell the kind of brow products that I like. They sell maybe a brow pencil or like a brow powder, but I thought instead Billion Dollar Brows was kind enough to send over some other products. So I'm going to try, I guess, their blonde tinted brow gel. This is the style of brow product that I like to use, but I haven't used this one yet. So that is the spoolie. Combs through the brows nicely. I'm probably due for a trim of my brows, but so I think for me, this blonde shade is a little bit on the warm side. I was saying in one video where I tried their blonde brow pencil that it was a nice tone, because blonde sometimes does go a little bit warm. But yeah, I think this one is a tad warm for my taste, but maybe once we kind of do everything else, it'll work out. So on top of that, I'm going to go in with their clear brow gel. I just want to see if it gives it any more hold. All right, same spoolie. I know watching people do their brows is kind of like watching paint dry, but all right, that's good enough. So let's move on to some powder. So I'm going to go in with the Hydra Setting Powder, which was, I think prior to this coming out, was like the latest hot kind of new launch. And I've heard generally good things. So they did have a powder before this, the Unpowder, I guess. So this is a loose powder, which is not generally my preference. It does have a little puff there, and I do remember the kind of lid being pretty cool. So it has the RMS kind of imprinted, so that's how the powder comes out. So I thought that was kind of a unique, interesting approach that they, ooh, that really picked up a lot there. Just kind of swirling my brush in. This is really why I don't like loose powder. Okay, so got a more manageable amount on the brush there. And I'm just going to, I guess, start by powdering half my face. So yeah, I think this is supposed to be a good powder for dry skin because it doesn't, as you can see, totally suck up the moisture or anything. It does definitely kind of take away a little bit of the shine. I think it does some nice blurring as well, and I'm not usually one that's kind of necessarily looking for a ton of blurring. It's not like my chief goal, I guess. I just washed my brushes, so they're all hanging upside down. So I'm gonna take my little e.l.f. brush that you unfortunately can't get anymore and just dip in. So creasing wise, there's a little bit starting under here, but I think because I didn't use like a creamy corrector, and it's a pretty thin product, even though it is emollient, it's not terrible. I can tolerate a fair bit of creasing. Okay, so going in, I guess, with the other side, just to even things out. So far I do like this powder. I'm not totally in love, like I said, with loose powder generally. So you can see I just kind of picked up a little bit too much, and I'm just kind of tapping it in the lid there to kind of disperse it a bit better. And just going around. And because we are going to be using a lot of powder products, I want to make sure it's nice and set. So yeah, I do like that. I'm looking forward to trying that out with some different products, but I think that combination of the powder and the whatever you want to call this, super tint, is pretty nice. You can see a lot of freckles and stuff are still coming through, but it did kind of help even things out. Okay, so that is it for the kind of base complexion. Next up, I'm going to apply their eyeshadow. So this is where things get a little bit interesting. So I'll be the first to tell you that I don't really like cream eyeshadows. They tend to crease on me. So it's just not really my thing. These do have a cool little packaging system though, in that they have like a little key that you use to roll the product down as you use it. So whether that was necessary or not for a product this small is unclear, but it does make it kind of cool. It's like you're playing with an art supply product. If I can get this on here. All right, so that took a bit of finagling because it is pretty full. Okay, so what shade did I get? I got the shade Strobe. And I have my little Rare Beauty, I don't even know what this is. It might be a concealer brush actually, but it's one that and because I was applying that key, it's kind of coming out. That's the problem with these metal tubes like this, but I think that should be enough. Okay, so I guess I want it with a little bit of a kind of dried up bit right at the end. Yeah, so I just went for something pretty neutral, pretty. So let's, I guess, start off by just tapping a little bit on the lid. And then I'm going to use this to blend. They don't have any powder eyeshadows at the moment, so I always find these products a little bit difficult to kind of control the way I want to. Yeah, they don't have any powder eyeshadows. I guess I would be, or I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out with kind of a, like their blush bronzer products that they've been releasing lately. If they came out with a eyeshadow formula in that vein, I don't know how well it would actually translate to an eyeshadow, but I can see just from like a marketing perspective it being really popular. Although I know people aren't really into eyeshadows as much these days. So who knows? Trends change. So I'm just kind of picking up some from the back of my hand, trying to get kind of an even application. And my lids are unprimed. Usually generally I always apply primer with a powder shadow, but with cream shadows it can kind of be a mixed bag. So I'm just going in on bare lids. I'm trying to build up roughly the same kind of level of depth. But you can see it's just, like I said, it's just, once it kind of sets down, it just becomes a little bit more difficult to blend. And I know there are people who really like this product and I guess just cream shadows in generally, but it's just not my thing. I'd rather have, I guess, the additional blending time to really kind of finesse and kind of add and subtract as needed. I guess by subtract, I mean just add different shades to kind of affect the blend. It does seem to set down for better or worse. I guess I could always take like some micellar water maybe, because I don't really have anything else underneath my brows. Yeah, and just like kind of rubbing at it with a makeup eraser, it does pretty much stay on there. So hopefully anyone who has worked with this product and not been successful, hopefully you're just feeling a moment of solidarity. So I'm gonna take just some cotton and some micellar water. And again, this is not the type of product I normally go for. It was just a matter of, I know it's kind of a popular product and I wanted to kind of give it my best shot. All right, so I ended up kind of fully removing that product and I'm just picking it up with a brush from the back of my hand. I still don't think it's super easy to work with, but I'm trying to, I don't know, try a different technique. Like, it's difficult to blend is my main thing. And I don't think that is, this is the Refer B01. I think this was their older prototype, but it's just close. Okay, I think maybe that's as good as it's going to get. Let me know if you have this product, if you like it, what kind of technique you use, because I wouldn't say that that looks great, to be honest. So anyway, let's go ahead and I'm gonna wash this off of my hand and then I guess come back and do the mascara. So I'm quickly going to do some liner before mascara. I have the Lisa Eldridge in the shade Cinder Smoke. So I know RMS does sell kohl pencils, but I don't know. I'm just such a fan of either the Lisa Eldridge or the Victoria Beckham. More so the Lisa Eldridge though. So sometimes, especially if you haven't heard anything about a product that merits kind of trying it or checking it out, I'm just going to stick with what I know that I like and not waste either the money or the product itself. RMS does have pretty good sales from time to time. I will give them that. Like I mentioned, that kind of 20% off code that they have with Sophia, and I'm sure some other YouTubers as well have similar codes. They had, I think, their anniversary sale, which is where I picked up some of these products. And they also have had some good like gifts with purchase and that kind of thing. Speaking of Sophia, she does wear, there's an RMS headband that I guess they sent her in PR that I kind of have my eye on. She mentioned it as being an RMS product or item in one video recently. All right, I think that's good enough. It's not really about the liner. Fortunately, when you don't have a lot of depth shadow-wise on the outer corner, any kind of little mistakes or anything on your eyeliner can be a little bit more obvious. But anyway, it's not about that. So let's go in with their Straight Up Volumizing Peptide Mascara. I'm not expecting great things. It says Straight Up Volume and Straight Up Care for the Straight Up Smartest Clean Mascara. It says thick, full, long lashes. I don't know if Tarte claims to be clean or not. I think at various times they kind of, I don't know, promote their ingredients or whatever. But as you may know, the Tarte Lights Camera Splashes is my holy grail mascara. And that is a waterproof formula, but it's not the most waterproof. I find more than any kind of waterproof benefits, the reason why I like it is because it holds the curl, and I'm a little concerned that this one won't. So kind of conical brush. It's a little bit drier, actually. I was expecting it to be a little bit on the wetter side, which for curl purposes is a good thing. And of course, this is a sample, so it's always hard to tell. I might have, I was just checking really quickly to see if I had another sample kind of stashed away. I don't think I do. Yeah, let me know if you've tried the full size of this and if you also think it's a little bit on the drier side, or if this is just because it's a sample. It's not the tiniest brush, like the Lights Camera Splashes is really skinny, which is good if you have hooded lids, but this isn't so kind of obnoxiously large either. All right, so I'm gonna go in for a second coat. Yeah, I would say my lashes aren't quite as lifted as they normally would be. It's a little hard to build as well. If anyone has ever tried the Tarte Lights Camera Splashes on my recommendation, I'd be interested to know and what you thought of it, because I feel like I just kind of harp on it all the time, but I don't know if anyone actually has bothered to check it out. I know it's not a drugstore price, but usually I pick it up when it's half off at like Ulta, or Tarte sometimes runs good sales, so anyway. Okay, so I'd say the eyes are pretty much a miss in my book, but let's go on to bigger and brighter things. So I've been very excited to try this out. So this is the Hydro Bronzer in Beach Walk Betty. And even apart from doing this video, I was looking forward to trying this because I'm very much a fan of a rosy bronzer, and so this one does lean that way. So I have a couple actually of their cheek brushes. Like I said, they have good gifts with purchase from time to time. And this is in the shade Beach Walk Betty, by the way, which is another reason why I was looking forward to trying it. I mean, my name is Beth, and Betty is kind of the 1950s, I guess, variation or nickname for Elizabeth, I think, a lot of times. So, I don't know. There was just something very charmingly retro about it. So, let's pull this brush out. A little bit of a shorter handle. Synthetic brush, pretty fluffy. So I know they do have a variety of different brushes. And the thing about these is, like their blushes, which I'll show you in a moment, the pans do pop out. They're not like fully removable. So this one, you can see on the back here, you just kind of push up. Always makes me a little nervous. Woo, okay. So that's what the pan looks like just by itself. So I'll show you what I did with the blushes in a moment to put them into a Z palette, but yeah, they do sell refills. The actual benefit to having a refill component, I guess with a bronzer, there's a better chance that you'll go through it. Less so with a blush or highlighter, but anyway, let's go into this. I'm not sure that it's actually picking up that well on this brush. This is that kind of firmer, I don't know if it's a gelée texture, but those can be a little harder to pick up sometimes, which, depending on your comfort level, do a little experiment. So I'll do this side of my face with this brush. I mean, it's definitely applying. It's just kind of how long do you want to take to get there kind of thing. Okay, so for the other side, what I've been using lately, this is also a synthetic brush, by the way. This is the Airbrush Tapered Bronzer, and the It brush is for Ulta. This is the number 150. And normally what I do with this brush, because it has a little bit more of a like flatter top, like surface area, it's not quite as tapered. What I'll do is I'll kind of pounce it in on its head, so to speak, and pick it up that way and go in. So it's still, I think, going to be a little bit softer to pick up and apply. I think those might be kind of equal, actually. I think I was watching a video, name dropping all over the place today. Charlotte Holdcroft did a bronzer video a few months ago now, actually, but I was watching it because I was watching reviews of the YSL bronzer, and I think I got a little bit more pickup on that side for what it's worth. I was watching reviews of the YSL bronzer because it was just on sale at Nordstrom for 20% off, and I kind of had my eye on it, but I wasn't, I'm going in the wrong side, aren't I? I wasn't totally convinced. Be very bronzed today. So I was watching reviews, and I ended up purchasing the lightest shade, mostly just because everyone was talking about like the texture being so amazing. So anyway, I'll be giving that one a shot. I think YSL is also coming out with blushes in that form factor or similar to it. So anyway, I'm just buying into the YSL universe. So it's a decent brush. I do like the bronzer. It's just going to be a little bit of a slower build, so that's kind of a preference thing. Tone-wise, I think it looks good on my skin. It's not as rosy as some others, but it's certainly not orange. So that is a kind of mark in its favor. I don't think these brushes are anything really to write home about, so I would probably recommend sticking with whatever you already have. So for blushes, let's go on to those. So I basically have every blush, and I picked them up through various sales and that kind of thing, just building my collection. And I did film how I depotted these, so that should go up as like a short, I think, at some point, so just keep your eyes peeled for that. But you saw how I pushed out the pan. So these also come in similar little compacts. So I'll just pull this one for comparison. It is nice that the labeling is a little bit different. The bronzer has like a metallic foil print there, and this blush is just red, basically. So at least you can tell, I guess, what type of product you're picking up. The blushes themselves, I think they just have, like the bronzer, they don't have a color indication, they just have the names. You'd have to know which name is what color. So I kind of broke these up into cool and warm, and I think these are the deeper of the Z palettes, so you want something that's going to kind of encompass domed products, basically. So I pushed the ones that came in a compact out. I did also just purchase some of the refills, so I can show you what that looks like. And I held on to the packaging. Sometimes I like to repurpose parts of the packaging for labeling purposes, but anyway. So just cardboard packaging with like a plastic protector. So pretty environmentally friendly when it comes to that. So this is the mailer that the Skin Tint came in, or Super Tint. So, you know, I think they're fairly environmentally friendly. I'll still maintain that every powder product should come in a magnetic pan that you can just push through with a pin, but anyway. So yeah, so once I push those out, I just stuck I think it's basically a metal disc on the back, like an adhesive 3M kind of metal disc, and then I wrote the shade and everything on the back. So it's not a perfect system. It's kind of resting on that little square, I don't know what you call it, but that square bit. So it's pretty well attached now, but there were some that would kind of come loose. So it's not something where it's going to be easy to kind of move them back and forth depending on your preference, but anyway. So for blush, so I think I kind of want to go with, what is this shade? Cure Royale. So let's see how that applies to the cheek, again, with one of these brushes. This is a clean one. I do wish that they had maybe given us a slightly longer handle, would have been nice. So, of course, everyone is totally in love with this formula. I think it's kind of what has given a lot of life to the brand. And it is very pretty. Nice sheen, but at least from a decent distance, you're not seeing any kind of sparkle or anything. So if I weren't using this brush, I would probably reach for like my reference number 5 if you want a natural hair option. Again, natural hair is probably going to pick up the product a little bit more, so if you want to go in a little bit heavier at the outset, but I think this is the brush that's kind of designed for this product. So if you like a little bit of a slower build, I would recommend going with a synthetic. So yeah, very, very pretty, no complaints. Some products I think are kind of worth the hype, so to speak. And I do like, especially when I have a lot of shades in the same product, being able to kind of look at them all at once. Like I did that with my Tarte blushes once upon a time, although Tarte, like I said, did have the just fully metal pans that you could just stick right in there. But yeah, I like being able to look at them all at once. And if I did want, because I do have some space, I could stick the bronzer in one of these, and then I do have the highlighter in this formula as well. I just have one shade each of the highlighter and bronzer, so it's not as big of a deal. And that is what the highlighter looks like. It's the same, it looks like, as the bronzer. So let me know if they've changed the blush packaging as well to match this. I was assuming it was because it was a different product, but I could be wrong. So yeah, so not as much a fan of that. I should mention before I apply the highlighter that going back to what I was saying about kind of their older style of packaging, I did just pick up for, I don't know, comparison's sake. This is the Buriti bronzer. So again, one of these little guys, and this I think is going to be a luminous bronzer. So that is the Buriti, and I'll swatch Beach Walk Betty next to it. So interesting there. I mean, the Buriti is cooler by comparison, I'd say. So if you like that style of bronzer, that is an option. They also have little cream blushes like so, which I think are pretty decent actually. This is in the shade Demure. So if you like a little cream blush kind of thing. I also had like a sample of, this one is Elusive, because I haven't gotten much use out of that one. But yeah, these little guys, and then their Living Luminizer, like I said. I don't have a dedicated one of these because mine got really old, so I had to declutter it. But they do have some fun little like travel quads. So if you did want to try out some of their cream formulas and wanted something really kind of compact for travel, this one, I think it has three actually of the blushes, and then the champagne kind of illuminizer. So especially if you like cream formulas, that could be really nice for travel. And then the other one here, it had some different shades of their Living Luminizer. So I might just apply a tad. So the kind of pearlescent white one is what I remember as kind of getting all the hype, because it was basically giving you that kind of like wet look without any kind of pigment, was why it was super popular. So just for old time's sake. So yeah, so really pretty. And again, you can try a few different shades of these formulas with these little minis. And I think my preferences these days are really more towards a cream or liquid highlighter. I mean, I'll still use a powder, but I think there's just something really youthful about a cream. I did also have a sample of this guy, which I think they've discontinued, the luminizing powder. This was in Grand Dame. I think this was like a gift with purchase I got at some point from like Sephora. So that's kind of your more typical, almost like Becca kind of style highlighter, a little bit more warm leaning. So anyway, let's go into the highlighter that is the kind of sister product to the bronzer and the blush. All right, so this is the shade Prosecco Fizz. And again, like, I'm not sure this is like the ideal shade for me. I might have to blend it down. It's a tad bit lighter than that other one. I'm just going in with a super light hand here. I just saw that Armani is going to be releasing some liquid highlighters. That's just the trend now, isn't it? Like, everyone does a liquid blush, everyone does a liquid bronzer, everyone does a liquid highlighter. It's like the Oprah, you get a car, you get a car. So, yeah, I don't know that this one, I wouldn't necessarily spend my money on this one as opposed to the blush or the bronzer or even their cream luminizers. I don't think it's giving a lot. So yeah, this one might be a pass. So I'll go on to the rest of the lip products and then we'll finish with their fragrance. So this lip balm has actually kind of hung around a fair bit. So again, not the most hydrating, moisturizing, but if you want a product like that, kind of just a light level of a pigment kind of thing, it does have some kind of longevity to it, which is interesting. It's almost a little bit of a stain at this point, so that's interesting. So I don't have any of their serum lipsticks, which I know they have just released a new kind of nude line or expansion of. Just kind of wiping off my lips with a makeup eraser. And I do have, I think, 2 lip liners. I have the shades Morning Dew and Sunrise Nude. Oh, and they do come with little sharpeners, which is always nice. Very cute, very interesting kind of apparatus here. They, I guess they open. So they might kind of contain some of the shavings, which is nice. Oh, and they do have a little angled brush on one side, which is nice. The shades suggest that they're going to be, that's what the pencil looks like. They're a little bit more on the stiffer kind of wood pencil side, like I guess the Tower 28 or the older formula of the Makeup Forever, or maybe a MAC pencil. So those are the 2 shades. I think they look a touch warmer on camera. Maybe that one looks a little bit more mauve-y. That one is more of like a peachy pink, I think. I'm gonna go in with this one called, what are you called? Morning Dew. I think this is going to be the closest to my actual lip color. And my lips do not feel super hydrated, by the way. So these are definitely going to be a drier pencil, which is not a good or a bad thing. I think it really just comes down to preference. And I guess I'm just wondering for this texture of pencil, it doesn't seem like the brush is really going to do much, because it's not like they're super creamy where you can kind of blend them out. So I don't know. Let's move on to the Wild with Desire lipstick, if there was ever a name. So this is in the shade RMS Red. Did I truly get a red? Maybe I just got this because Rosemarie is always wearing a red. I don't know if I can make that work. That's what it looks like on my hand, especially it's so orange. Instead, I could go back in with that lip balm. I do also have a sample of their Lights Cream lip gloss though, and I think maybe that shade Bisou will be nice. These also come in little tubes, so let's give this one a shot. This isn't obviously a review of every single product that they make. I guess I'm gonna need a lip brush. So this is just a really old brush from Stila. I don't think they make it anymore, which is a shame. But picking it up like so. I think it is a good color combination. So again, the full size comes in tubes like the eye lights. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a tackier kind of formula. It's not going to be obviously like a lip oil that would just kind of pour out of a container like this, or even like a lip gloss that has to be somewhat fluid to be able to come in and out of the tube. It's almost a little closer to a satin lipstick than it is to like a gloss. And again, coming out of a tube, you'd have to, I guess you just dispense it onto your finger, unless you wanted to put it onto a palette and then pick it up with a brush. If you're a makeup artist, that could be great, but anyway. So that is the, I think, final lip product I have to share with you. Yeah, it feels nice and comfortable enough. It's just not, it's not giving me like super glossy lips. It's not really filling in lip lines, that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's probably not something I would purchase in the full size. Okay, so as I said, the last thing I have here is their fragrance called Scarlet Moon. So this is apparently a collaboration with Heretic Perfume, 100% naturally derived eau de parfum. And it says, the magic of essential oils. Blood orange sharpens the mind and creates a sense of well-being. Violet leaf and Japanese hinoki inspire feelings of groundedness. Deeply mysterious, steeped in tradition, laced with magic. Allow this magical elixir to be part of your daily rituals. From what I remember, this is quite expensive. I'm actually going to spray my packing material here. So it smells nice, definitely a little bit heavy on the citrus, which I don't mind a citrus perfume. It's a little bit strong for me in the sense that when I wear a citrus, normally I'm wearing it in the summer, and I think it's a little bit strong for that. I think I would honestly prefer this more as a home fragrance or like a men's cologne. Not that it's like objectively masculine, but it's a little bit strong is I guess what I'm trying to say. Like I think violet is a note that you find in men's colognes. They'll have citrus. Japanese hinoki, I guess I'm less familiar with where that pops up, but yeah, I like it. I think personally, I would not want to wear it on my person. I usually go for something a little bit floral. And even if, like I said, I'm wearing like a citrus during the summer or whatever, I'll often do like a citrus floral instead of a straight citrus. So anyway, let's get the hair down. So final thoughts. So I think my favorites are actually the powder. Even though I'm not really a loose powder fan, but as far as loose powders go, I do think I like this one. This guy, I don't know that I'll reach for it over similar products. Like I just repurchased the Tower 28 SPF 30 tinted sunscreen. So granted, you are getting a little bit more SPF in this one, but are you really wearing enough to get the SPF? Probably not. So yeah, I do like that it has the expiration date. I just noticed that, so that's good, 2026-05. So I might play around with it a little bit more. I just don't know that this would be, if I were to rank similar products, I don't know that this one would be at the top. But if for whatever reason you were interested in it, I don't think it's an outright failure. So there's that. The moisturizer is not bad. Like I said, I don't feel any kind of like tingling on my skin, which is a good sign as far as sensitivity to niacinamide. So I'll let you know if that changes. And the eye products we can just totally skip over. Obviously the blushes are very nice, very popular for a reason. I like the bronzer. I don't necessarily recommend their powder luminizer. I would definitely suggest maybe looking at some of the little quads like I mentioned, or even just the singles if you're interested in that kind of product. And the lip products, I think I'm just kind of so-so on. The lip pencils, I think if you like kind of a stiffer pencil, less emollient, you might like those. And the lip balm, like I mentioned, if you want kind of that almost lipstick quality, I think that one is a good one. But if you're looking for what's more popular these days in terms of the lip balms and that kind of thing, I would skip it. And the sunscreen, it does have some fragrance ingredients, like I said. The concealer doesn't really give much coverage. The mascara doesn't really give me what I want. And the fragrance, again, I think is pretty expensive and not one that I'm totally in love with. So I think that is basically it in a nutshell as far as what I tried on in this video. Of course, there are more products that I haven't featured today. So if you do have any favorites or other feedback you'd like to share with everyone about RMS products that you've tried, let us know in the comments down below. And until next time, I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.